Welcome to the Author Corner, our chance to meet the authors you'll want to read. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so delighted today to be joined by author Lois Schaeffer. Lois is the author of From Bullet to BullHorn, Stories of Advocacy, Activism, and Hope. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, so glad to have you. So glad to be talking about this incredibly important topic of gun control, but so sorry about why we're here together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you bring us back? I know you were a gun control advocate even before your family tragedy.
I have been a gun safety advocate my entire life, and I worked on Carolyn McCarthy's congressional candidacy. 1993
Wow.
was the Long Island Railroad massacre.
Yes.
And her husband was on that train.
Yeah.
And as a result, she ran for Congress.
Yep, that started her down that path, and you were involved with that.
And I was very much involved with that. Then, fast forward, 2007, Michelle Schimmel was an assemblywoman, and she had asked me to work on a legislative bill that she was involved in. It was micro-stamping. And I said, sure. And we worked on that. Fast forward again, December 2008, my daughter, single working mother, walked into her house, and there were two teenagers, one in possession of a stolen handgun. And in moments, it was over. She saw him, he shot her, she fell to the floor, and he shot her twice more.
Oh.
You can imagine, how it is.
No, I can't. I can't even.
Well, you can't imagine.
I can't imagine.
And having been involved in this, it was almost surreal.
Right.
And the other thing that I want to say is that people have referred to me and to others who have been mothers, fathers, sister, brother, aunt, uncle as victims. I consider myself a survivor. The victim was the one who is now deceased.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something about it.
Right.
And what I thought was, I'm going to sit down and I am going to write a book. My first book was called The Unthinkable.
And it is unthinkable.
Life, Loss, and a Mother's Mission to Ban Illegal Guns. That was published in 2013. And right after the Newtown massacre, which was 4 years after my daughter was murdered, Moms Demand Action started. And they had march over the Brooklyn Bridge. And because I had been involved in gun safety with other people, I am walking across the bridge with this other young woman, also whom I call a survivor. Her son was murdered. And I'm walking across the bridge with her, and I said, you know something? I'm thinking about the fact that there are so many people like us that are survivors. What would you think about us getting together? There are so many people around the country who are losing.
Yeah. Isn't that awful that there are so many people? I mean, after Newtown, I think so many of us thought things would change. You know, not that they shouldn't have changed before that, but Newtown really kind of tipped the balance, didn't it?
But it did not.
No, it didn't. You're right.
So I am talking to this young woman, and I said, I'm thinking about going out and getting stories from other people from around the country that have been survivors like us. She said to me, that's a fabulous idea. And she happened to live in Brooklyn. She said to me, I have 11 women that I can refer you to.
Wow. Gosh.
That was in May of 2014. And I said, give me their names.
Right, right.
Let's talk. Put me in touch with them.
Right.
That summer, I kept emailing and calling her. I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh, I can't even imagine. You know, reading the stories, a couple of things come to me reading them. I mean, certainly one, I'm so glad that you're focusing a lot in the book on people like yourself who were not part of the big newsworthy ones. You know, we hear about the big ones and they're horrible, but every day families like yours are shattered.
You hear in the news about the massacres,
Right.
whether it be Newtown, whether it be the theater in Colorado,
Right.
Aurora, Colorado. You hear about Parkland,
Yeah.
but you do not hear about single people.
Right, like your
that-
daughter Susie. We didn't hear about that on the news.
For example, in the book, there is a woman there. I give her so much credit. Her name is Mary Hennings, St. Louis, Missouri. She lost 2 sons. And she was shot, but thank God she is alive.
Right.
But I also wanted to talk about people like that.
Right.
That after such unspeakable tragedies, that have what it is that they have done.
Right. Yes. Well, thus the stories of advocacy, activism, and hope. Yeah.
Yes.
And hope.
Now there are stories. There is representation in the book from the rabbi in Newtown.
Yes.
There was representation from the couple whose daughter was shot in Aurora.
Aurora. Yes.
There was representation from Parkland. as
And
well.
those are, every one of them is unspeakable. But I'm glad that you pointed fingers at those ones that we don't hear about.
That is,
Because it's every day, and it's families all across this nation that are being shattered.
yes,
And it's not just the big tragedies that we hear about that are, sometimes, Lois, I think that when we hear about these big massacres, they're so big that I think we almost block it out. Like, we don't even want to know how many people, because 20, I can't even fathom that. But when you speak about your daughter, and when others speak about their son, their husband, whoever it is, it's one-on-one. I get it. Do you know what I'm saying?
That is what I wanted to say. Yes, of course. You know, all those numbers.
Right, those numbers
Each
are...
one is a person.
A person.
A person had a family, had friends, kids. Who were shot. But each one has a story, but ones that you don't hear about.
Right.
Then it brings it down.
Yes.
To something personal.
Yes, that's what it does. It makes it personal, because those big numbers just sound like news clips, but these are actual people that I can understand and relate to and say that could be our family. They're just a regular family.
That is right. Yes.
Just like
yes.
our family.
There's and some of the people, well, it's not all of the people that I managed to identify. Some of them I knew. Some of them I didn't, but I was referred
Right.
to them. There is a young woman there who is an artist, and she lost her father, committed suicide.
Oh.
Lost a priest that she loved who was shot. What it is that she did is that she does these panels of they're mostly children who were shot. And she has displayed this artwork in different ways.
Right.
So it is a catharsis for her, but she's also reaching out to other people so they would have a specific memory of,
Right.
and what she calls it is faces not forgotten.
Right. And that's what your book does also, is making sure that people are not forgotten. But I think that it also served, I'm sure, as catharsis for some people in writing. Very emotional, as you said. Some people just couldn't do it. I'm sure there were people that you asked that just couldn't do it. But it's also, was there any community? You know, now that you know these people and they know you, and it's kind of like being in a club that nobody wanted to join. Tell me a little bit about how people are supporting each other.
Yeah, yes, that's right, and I am. The word is glad. I have a feeling of purpose, of accomplishment, that I not only helped myself, but reached out to other people for them to help themselves and for them to reach out to others. Yeah. I mean, that was the purpose.
Yes, exactly. The purpose of this is to serve the whole world, of course, so that people can read these stories, get personally involved, understand, and advocate themselves and be part of the. But it's also for the people who are contributors, the stories, the families. It was for them too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the other thing I want to come across is that here, guns are so accessible. And not only are the lives of the victims destroyed, but the lives of the survivors, but also the lives of the perpetrators.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
And I mean, what is it? What is it? What is it there for?
Right.
And what I also want to point out is that you talk about mental illness, for example, and they blame mental illness. There are people who are mentally ill that are homeless. The culprit is the gun, the accessibility of the gun. And it's too bad that what it is that we have to also talk about is that gun violence is political, it's legislative, it's health related, and it's human. Yes, we as a society try to get gun safety legislation, but unless we have legislators that will push for gun safety, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. It's amazing that it's that hard after Newtown and all these others, that it's so hard.
I mean, just health related, think about the people, anybody, whether it be a child or an adult, whether or not, whether they are shot. Hospitals, they're emergency hospitals taking care of these people that are shot. It's unnecessary.
Right, right. And like you said, the accessibility. Certainly, mental health issues are a global concern, but this kind of violence is not global. It's our country.
Yes.
There are certainly mental health issues in other large countries, but they don't have this kind of issue. The massacres that we have constantly, the school shootings and the single shootings, like your daughter.
So there is representation
Yeah.
of not only those single shootings,
Right.
but there is also representation of the mass.
Right, the mass shootings.
That
And then there's also accidental shootings. It seems like every week I hear of some 2-year-old who finds a gun, or their little sister finds a gun, and it goes off during playtime.
You are right.
Horrible.
For example, there are, as you say, the accidental shootings. There are people who own guns, neither locked nor stored, and a kid finds it. Oh, what's this?
Yeah,
And shoots.
exactly. Kids are curious.
Yeah, there is, it's called Nicholas's Law. Just exactly that that was final. That was finally done. I forget where, just where it is. But a kid went to play with a friend, found the
Right,
parent's
found the
gun, and it was all over.
Awful, awful. And unfortunately, with a gun, it's all over very quickly. There's not, time for recourse.
Yes.
As opposed to other means. People will say, well, killers will kill. But you can't wipe out 30 people that fast with a knife or something. It just doesn't happen.
One of the things that I talk about, you talk about fast. For example, my daughter was an athlete. She was certified. She was an athlete, she was a runner, she was a dancer, she was a swimmer. She was certified in Pilates and gyrotonic. What I'm trying to illustrate, she was so quick on her feet.
Good shape.
And in seconds,
Right.
it was finished.
Right, no chance. No chance whatsoever, even for an athlete. No chance.
So, yeah, it is just criminal.
Oh, and heartbreaking. And like represented here and all over families in every walk of life.
When I first went out to get stories for this book, I was put in touch with so many different people all over the country. I talk about two lovely women from Minnesota. We spoke, and I'd asked them if they would write their stories. I don't remember just who it is they lost.
Right.
Months. They had said yes, they would, each different. I never got anything, and I get it. It's, as I said
So
before,
painful.
it's hard.
Oh, it's hard to read. It's so hard to read, but so important to read that I can't imagine what it is to write.
Yeah, in a way, I want people. I want people to feel. I'm sorry to make them sad, but in a way, I'm glad to make them sad.
Right.
Because I want them to say, I want to do something.
Absolutely. So what can we do? What are you hoping that people will read this and do next?
Okay, I'll tell you what we can do. From around the country, we each have family and friends who live in different parts of the country. We have to tell them to check who is running, who is your candidate, how does that candidate support or not support gun safety.
Right.
There are other things that that we can do. For example, in schools, we can have seminars about supporting diversity.
And then what?
There are other things to be done. For example, they blame the police for violence, and yes, What about consciousness raising?
No, but terrible things do happen. But like you said, raising awareness, raising consciousness, understanding the issues, starting with reading and opening your mind.
Oh, okay.
And what about these families? Do you keep up with these families?
I have been in touch with these families, yes. And they told me, thank you for thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. And what there's a couple there from Providence, Rhode Island, lost a son. He was a firefighter. And they talk about him, and just an aside, how you get involved in their lives.
Right.
For example, they had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. Just recently, they lost another daughter, to cancer.
Oh. But you've kept in touch, which is so
I have
nice.
kept in touch with
So nice.
all of those people there.
Thank you. That's important. It's important for us as readers, but it's important for the people who were involved. From Bullet to BullHorn by Lois Schaeffer. Stories of advocacy, activism, and hope. Thanks for joining us.
We're just books up on a shelf. Try to understand this if you can.